This Friday, Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are back to switch things up in Disney's Freakier Friday.
Totally. Yes.
It's an absolute riot, and the only movie that can be described as
So much weirder than the last time.
What last time?
it's the frequel
You ready?
we've been waiting for.
That absolutely slays.
What deeply out of touch old person came up with that?
You did.
Wow.
Don't miss the comedy event of the summer for all ages. Disney's Freakier Friday in theaters this Friday. Get tickets now. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
This episode is brought to you by the world's first reposado from Tequila Herradura. Made with slow-cooked, hand-harvested agave sealed into oak barrels and aged 11 months. Before being enjoyed in your glass. Experience the world's first reposado. Tequila Herradura. Please drink responsibly. Responsibility.org. Tequila Herradura. 40% alcohol by volume. Imported by Brown-Forman, Louisville, Kentucky. Herradura is a registered trademark. Copyright 2025 Brown-Forman Corporation.
Hey, it's Sydney Sweeney. I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney, Hasbro Jeans.
You see what I did there, right?
Pie in the Sky Media. This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence throughout. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, Criminal Mischief Nation. Welcome back to another bonus episode of Criminal Mischief with Carolyn and Branden. I'm Branden, on the road from a hotel room. I wouldn't even really call it that. It's more like kind of soulless corporate housing in Jersey City, but I can see Manhattan from my window, so that's something. And with us again, as always, the great Carolyn Osorio. We don't deserve her, but here she is. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, dirty bird. Dirty bird.
Yeah. How's it going?
Doing good. Doing great. Yeah, but it sounds like you're on the road again.
It's raining here. I don't like that, but you know, what are you gonna do?
I can't stop looking at that art piece. It's like, what's going on with it?
I don't know. I haven't really even noticed it until right now, to be honest with you. So it's yeah, it's weird. It's weird. But that's what this place is. Like there isn't a lobby. Like where you check in, it's kind of like a bodega where you could buy stuff to cook in your room because there's a sad little kitchen in every room, right? So
I love how you're trying to bring some culture. It's a bodega when it's probably just like a. It's probably like just like a vending machine.
Bodega doesn't. I didn't mean that to bring culture by any means. Okay.
Well, I'm sure it's probably a vending machine, right?
No, it's a step below a 7-Eleven. It's got just shelves of like, Pringles and then like power bars and then like ramen cup of noodles and then some like freezers with like frozen lasagna and stuff in it. And yeah. And so pretty cool.
That's reminding me of like a cooking show where you have to like take like the most horrendous ingredients and like cook like a meal.
Yeah, no, not here. Not here.
Yeah.
But they also have a DoorDash special. If you put in this housing complex into DoorDash, you get like 10% off or something. So yeah.
Well, there you go. You're making it work.
Making it work.
In the big city. In the big city.
Big city. But we're on set every day anyway, so they have good food. It's catered. It's nice. It's nice. So it's just like I have breakfast here and then I get out. So.
Well, good. Well, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well.
You too. Yeah, we're getting it done. So I really enjoyed this. Because we'd been off of, like new, like fresh stuff for a while, last couple of weeks,
Mm-hmm.
We did a redux of an early episode. Then you were nice enough to let me take over the Feed with Devil Within last week. And so then you're back in your element with a fucked up Pacific Northwest story. Great.
I love how you love me to take ownership of like everything fucked up in the Pacific Northwest.
You got to. This Bachmeyer guy was a real piece of work. Uh, which,
Well, it's like in my town.
yeah,
He
I know
lived
it's
in
in
my
Renton. It's like
town.
right there. It's right there. When you said Renton, I was like, holy
It's
shit!
right there.
Wow, is the house still
Yeah. I don't know what part of Renton. I wasn't curious enough to,
right?
kind of check that out. Renton is kind of big, but it's like King County. It incorporates like a lot of area, a lot of rural area.
Yeah,
So like he was like bouncing all over the place. You can just see him. Kind of reminds me of like Ted Bundy with that like beetle where you're like, you can just hear
yeah,
all the carnage coming. And this guy
yeah.
with I mean, not the same at all because obviously he's a serial killer, but like, the carnage that he wrought with the people that he was supposed to be protecting and serving.
Well, that's my first question. Given the updated FBI guidelines, wouldn't Bachmeyer be a serial killer if that first shooting was not righteous? If that was not a righteous shoot for
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
he,
it's two or more that are not related to
right?
each other is considered serial killer territory.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's Bachmeyer. Okay, so that was my first
Yeah.
question. My second question for you
Hmm.
Beth, is I know what my answer is, but what stood out to you the most from what you learned from this episode? Like what jumped out at you?
It's interesting because I had a feeling you were going to ask me that. And when I was like kind of tooling around today, I was thinking like what was reminding me, and I was like, I just didn't want to talk about it because I was like, I don't want to make this about me, but like I'm going to make it about me for a second. Just like my dad, as I've mentioned, he was a police officer when I was little. He was a police officer in New York City where I was born, but we moved to Washington when I was one. He, was a police officer here. And that imagery of the uniform and the protect and serve, like I thought my dad was like Superman for a really long time.
Yeah,
And I was totally disappointed in him. He was human and he wasn't Superman. I can't even imagine like let's take away Rios's family and Ren's family and just, and then if we look at the police for just a second and just like, he wears this badge and this, is supposed to do these things and he's just this horrific person. And so the disappointment of just everybody, just disappointing, like I guess that's my biggest takeaway is when we elevate people and we give them this authority and then they just, you know, who knows if he went into it looking to abuse people? I think, my personal opinion, yes, because clearly by his actions, he was probably one of these guys that are like, yeah, this is where I can get away and do this kind of stuff to
I got
people,
a power trip. Yeah. My thing is
Yeah,
related to
what was your take?
it's related to
What?
yours, but it's related to yours, and you use the word elevated, like that we elevate people and that we have certain expectations. Um, but mine's a little darker and it's a little disappointing that we're not equal under the law. Okay, that you put on a uniform and the laws applied differently to him. They couldn't take the totality of his offenses to establish to establish a pattern, right? The
Yeah.
whatever the police union or whatever makes you take one thing and put it in a vacuum and just look at this only, not as it relates to other things on his jacket, right? Did he have, brutality complaints? Did he have this? He lied to a superior, like all of these things. You couldn't look at his whole history and get him off the street and have his badge. No, is any one thing worthy of getting him off the street? And the answer was no. And so you just got to keep doing stuff. That wouldn't happen to me or you. That's why one of the first things asked, does he have any priors? That's one of the first things that's asked about people. Oh, he does. Well, that
I
establishes the
know.
routine. So you're going to be your punishment's going to be worse because of your priors. And those can't be considered for a cop. That's that right there. The laws apply differently to depending on what your job is. Okay. At least they're
Well,
honest about it.
And, depending on the color of your skin, depending on where you come from,
Well, see,
depending
but
on.
well, I agree with you. One isn't like written down anywhere, right? Like all the prejudicial stuff from cops, I doubt that was written down. That was understood and talked about, I'm sure. Okay.
Mhm.
But it wasn't like codified in their code of conduct or in their PBA briefings or anything that they fight for in the collective bargaining from the union side, right? No one ever fought for, hey, we want the right to treat brown people differently. Right? No, but I'm sure they fought for, hey, you can't look at someone's entire history of malfeasance as a police officer when you're adjudicating a case. All of that stuff is compartmentalized, right? That was something that was obviously negotiated, and that's fucked
Yeah,
up.
and that is you're right. I mean, that is completely out of control. I mean,
Yeah,
the fact that they and then you could just hear the fly on the wall conversations of like, can you imagine being his supervisor and just seeing him get away with this and get away with
sure.
this and get away with this and not be able to do anything about it?
How many bad cops has this kept on the street? A lot.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot, a lot.
Yeah.
All right, and now let's shift over because I get to use one of my favorite words that I learned from the show, the dipshittery of Bachmeyer. Okay,
Oh my
like he
God.
turned, like he
I
turned, he turned into George Costanza for a second. Don't worry, I found the guy, but I decided to let him go. But it's all good. It's all good. You can
I
trust me.
I was so frustrating talking to the police officer or the captain because I was like trying to put sense to it. I was trying to ask questions and he's like, "You're trying to make sense, like I'm wrong." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, all right, I get it. I get it that this isn't going to make sense because to me the whole thing was like it's not making sense. Why would you do this?"
Nope.
You
Nope.
know, I mean, you would think not even just why would you do this? I mean, that's separate, the moral issue, but just being a cop for 25 years,
Yeah.
you would think that he would have picked up a thing or two about how to get away with arsoning
Well,
your house.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. So, me and a filmmaker friend of mine. Okay, he doesn't live in LA anymore, but we're still very, very close. And, we make sure we watch movies at the same time separately so we can discuss them together afterwards, and so we're up to date with each other. And we like making fun of bad movies. Okay.
Mhm.
But we never blame it when there's a bad performance. Okay. We don't blame the director. We say the same thing. We go, okay, just remember, they got into the editing room, and that was the best take that they had. Okay,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
had to be in the movie. All right. So with Bachmeyer, with these terrible decisions that he made, it feels to me because it's difficult to attribute that level of stupidity to someone who was able to stay on the job for 25 years. Okay. All right. So he must have been completely out of options and desperate, and that was the best thing that was available to him. And because what was next? You blame Bigfoot or say aliens abducted you, right? Like it's almost that level of
Or here's what I was thinking though. I was thinking about this today. I was like, maybe it's because he had gotten away with so many things that he thought, I'm going to start this fire. They're going to see me as a 25-year veteran. They're not going to quit. We're just going to nod at each other and it's going to be not like they would be involved in the arson, but
sure,
like they
sure.
would just assume that
He's a
he
cop. We can
didn't do
trust him,
it.
right?
They
That they wouldn't
yeah, we
investigate.
can yeah, so then so then but I mean, if you look at the confession letter, like if I had done that, I would really spend a lot of time writing that letter. I would make sure that the confession landed within those 4 pages because that's all he had the guy sign. That's
Yeah,
why the fifth one wasn't signed because he ran over, right? Wouldn't you make sure that every single like all your T's were crossed, your I's were
yeah.
dotted,
I
and like there's a sloppiness to it
You're
that
right. So
makes
all
me
right.
feel
So that
like
ruins my theory that he was out of options. And he had to do it because he obviously had the ability to do some pre-planning. He had the guy sign 4 pages, and then he goes to five. that's dipshittery, like right there. Okay. The fact
Right.
that the fact that he moved all of his valuables out of the building that he put on fire. Now you could work around that. You could say, oh well, I'm prepared. I keep all of my valuable stuff in one spot just for such an event. And I ran in and got it. Okay, you could say that, but why gild the lily and then write, like graffiti, like Rio, blah 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 blah, right? Say, oh well, I guess it was someone who was avenging that righteous shoot. Remember, it was right. Let her, it just, it's weird. It was like he just got too clever, or was trying to get too clever.
On WhatsApp, no one can see or hear your personal messages. Whether it's a voice call, message, or sending a password. To WhatsApp, it's all just this. So whether you're sharing the streaming password in the family chat or trading those late-night voice messages that could basically become a podcast, your personal messages stay between you, your friends, and your family. No one else. Not even us. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
It's Wednesday, Adams. I see you're trying to distract yourself from your own banal thoughts. Let me help. Here's a recording thing made of my latest root canal.
Wednesday Season 2 is now playing, only on Netflix.
She's made up her mind to live pretty smart. Learn to budget responsibly right from the start. She spends a little less and puts more into savings. Keeps her blood pressure low and credit score raises. She's cutting debt right out of her life. She tracks her cash flow on a spreadsheet at night.
Boring money moves make kinda lame songs, but they sound pretty sweet to your wallet. PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865.
Una silla de masajes puede parecer extravagante. 8 configuraciones diferentes, intensidad ajustable, además es calefaccionado. Y se siente tan bien. Sí, una silla de masajes puede parecer extravagante. Y 2, bueno, aún más. Pero cuando esas sillas de masajes vienen con un auto, se vuelven bastante prácticas. El nuevo Volkswagen Tiguan 2025 con funciones premium como los asientos delanteros con masaje disponibles. Solo parece extravagante.
I don't think he was clever at all. I feel like he just thought he was invincible.
Yeah.
Like I can do whatever I want. Hey, I'm just gonna put graffiti and just, that's just more chum to the water with this.
Sure,
Who
everybody
knows what's
knew.
going on here?
Yeah. And then, I take all of that back. It was dipshittery, and maybe you can be dumb and be a cop because you didn't know the difference between your and your, and that bites my ass when I see that.
I was waiting for you to just claw into this guy over that. I mean, but it's kind of interesting where you don't realize that you're going to make mistakes just because you're human. Like YOUR in the contraction, like you're not even thinking, but like there's people that are going to be pouring over this, and he should have known that.
Right, but he doesn't know that he was using the wrong word. He just doesn't know.
Right, he doesn't know that. So that was something where it's like our subconscious minds, we just don't know. We can't think of every single thing.
That's how they got the Unabomber. You know how they got the Unabomber, right?
Well, was it because of the way his writing style?
They created a precedent that didn't exist beforehand, because the phrase "have your cake and eat it too," right? That's in our vernacular. That's actually the wrong way of saying it, right? It came out of England as "eat your cake and have it too." That's how it originally was. Okay.
Yeah.
And it makes more sense because if you eat something, it's gone, so you can't have it anymore, right? So eating it first would be the proper way to use that idiomatic kind of expression, right? And he would always he would correct people, and there was writings from when he was a professor of him using that the right way. Okay. And it was his brother that recognized that in his manifesto of him using it that way, right? And the judge agreed and felt that it would withstand appeal and withstand scrutiny, and gave them the warrant to search his fucking shack in the woods. and that's where they got
awesome.
everything. That's where they got everything. And they tried a fruit of the poisonous tree kind of defense, saying that's not enough. So anything you found in the shack is off limits. But it held up. It held up judicial scrutiny, and it's a precedent that a writing
Well,
style.
that's a very specific.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, that makes sense because people say that, but they don't say it all the time, I
Right.
feel like.
Yeah.
And so it's specific, but the YOUR and the contraction, that's definitely something where they could have been like, meh, but
it happens a lot, but as a piece of evidence in the larger tapestry, sure, it helps to point to a suspect. Yeah. It helps to
But I
point
mean,
to
I think that for the purposes of what we're talking about, it's really interesting how there's this subconscious thing that he doesn't realize that he's doing. He does not know that,
Yep.
right? But
Yep.
like the 3 different pens, the 3 different inks, like not getting it all. I mean, if it were me, I would have written it like multiple times on separate pieces of paper to make sure that it completely fit in before I started writing on the actual document, right? I mean, why did he think this wasn't, unless he just thought
They won't
this
stand.
is just going to be
I'm
rubber
a cop.
stamped?
I've gotten away from it. Exactly. I've gotten away with shit before, you know. And your interview guest was terrific because I with his belief about the shooting of Guadalupe. And Guadalupe is a man. Isn't that a female name in the
I
culture?
was hoping I was pronouncing it correctly, but yes, he's a man,
Oh.
and that's how his name was spelled, as Guadalupe. So I was like thinking, I don't
Are
know if
you
it's
sure?
Guadalupe, but
Are you sure? Was there an E at the end?
okay, can you?
I,
There was a contraction at the end. No, yes,
There was an E at
yes.
the end of the name. Okay. So Guadalupe. All right, but there's like Our Lady of Guadalupe. I mean, it's I don't know. I felt that to be a female name, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay, cool. So
Okay.
the reason that he believed that Bachmeyer was wrong in the Guadalupe shooting was because of the 2 gunshots that were so close together. That's a marksman. That's like a guy trained with a handgun. Okay. So he probably went, boom, boom. And like, I can see it. I can see him setting up the crime scene to make him look, okay. And it's, so the guy's,
And
yeah.
and there was just no reason for it. No reason for
Yeah.
it.
Well,
And Brad Wren, again, it's like he's getting back to your original question, that vulnerability of getting into the back seat of a police officer's car, believing that they're going to take you to a police station.
took him to the train station.
You
Took him to the train station. If you watch
he had
Yellowstone, took him to the trains. You don't watch Yellowstone, do you?
I do. Don't tell me because I didn't watch last night's episode and my husband's out of town. So like
Of what?
don't
1923? No,
tell
like
me.
of the mothership, the show Yellowstone, the original. Do you watch
Yeah, I
that?
watched the original. I didn't watch every single season of it, but I
Oh,
am
okay.
watching 1923 right now.
Okay, but you know what the train station is. Take them to the train station. That means that they're killing you and they dump you off that gorge.
That right.
Yeah, okay. So that's what happened with this
Yeah.
this poor fucking guy. I mean, so Bachmeyer, the mental midget that he is like, I need a fall guy, okay? But I can't have anyone else talk to him. But I'm going to get him to sign this. And then that was the dumbest thing. That was the most egregious, if you're right, which I think you are, that he just thought he was untouchable because he's a cop and he's gotten away with everything and he still has his badge. That he thinks everything was just going to get rubber stamped. I think that's the great way that you put it. I think you're right. To the point where he's like, they're going to believe me when I say this guy confessed. He wrote it down. I decided to let him go. My house, who cares? I'm over it. It'll be fine. Okay. That was the fact that he even brought that up to other badges is fucking ridiculous. That he thought that would fly and that no one would look into it.
That's where it falls apart for me because
Yeah.
like all of these different people he was talking to and like telling different things and not seeing that what he was saying didn't sound like, that's where I don't, it all falls apart
Yep.
because
And then
like,
go ahead.
like why would you tell all these different stories? You tell your supervisor that it doesn't have anything to do with Rios lives. Like the arson doesn't have anything to do with that. Then like the next day you're telling all your coworkers, and these, I'm sure it's like any office where they're all just gossiping about each other and talking about, I mean, hence his affair that somebody had turned him in for. And it's like, I mean, why did he think that this wasn't going to get back to his supervisors? It just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. And then I love me some forensic recreations. That was super cool.
Yeah,
They
I
wanted to
love that
recreate,
too.
yeah, they wanted to create the blood stain, and it would have taken, most of someone's blood. Okay. Not a, that's not, a nosebleed where he's going, okay, hold on. No, this was like
This was someone bleeding out
he almost bled
in
out
the
in the
back
front seat,
seat.
in the back seat. Yeah. And then dumped the body in the woods. Like he wound up just like a common murderer at the end of the day. It was like a dumbass, the ones that get caught. That's what he became. From the smart cop that was getting away with everything, he just became a dipshit that didn't know
I
what he
don't
was.
even think he was, you know what? Here's the thing, Brandon. I don't even think he was smart. He got cover under these policies that
Yep.
protected, you know, these bad actors.
Yep.
And he just, got in the slipstream of that and just felt like I could do whatever I want. I mean, he, okay, he thinks someone's going to hit his car. He's not even on duty. He pulls out a flare and he throws it. He lobs it at the other car. I mean, that's some freaking entitlement if I've ever heard
I
of
don't
it.
know
And
how he
he
stayed on the
doesn't
job.
think,
Sorry, go ahead.
what?
I don't know how he stayed on the job. But we went over that already. But yeah,
And then it's like, okay, wouldn't you think, okay, well, I was busted before for using flares. I probably shouldn't use them as a time delay in my fire,
yeah,
because
no,
I already have a history with flares. I need to
yep.
think of something else.
But he didn't even get suspended. Probably he did. I mean, he didn't even ride a desk for 2 weeks. He was just back out on patrol. He felt untouchable.
I am not laughing because I think it's funny. I have to say, I think it's like, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
you look to these people for protection and safety. And Brad Wren was like super vulnerable. He'd been shot in the leg by his
yep,
roommate, and his roommate was like, "I'm not going to take you to the hospital if you unless you promise you won't tell the police." And so he made up this story with his roommate that it happened in this other neighborhood. And it was like this whole thing that's like 2 weeks of like he thought he was getting kicked out of his house, and they were constantly calling the cops to for these domestic situations between these three guys, these like the two brothers and then him. I didn't add all that stuff because it was already confusing enough,
yeah,
but since
sure,
we're talking about it,
yeah.
it just was like he was so vulnerable. And then then Bachmeyer rolls up and he sniffs it out and he's like, nobody's gonna
I
care
was gonna
about this
miss him,
guy.
and that was obviously the captain's overall feeling about Bachmeyer was that he valued certain lives as less than,
Yeah.
and that's obviously the most disgusting part of the guy's character, if that were true, you know.
Yeah. And honestly, like if Brad didn't have a family who filed a missing persons report,
Yep,
and
exactly.
they didn't even like, the family was like calling like, please, we want to report this, our loved one is missing. And they were like, we're not going to report him as missing because he could have, blah blah blah, whatever. And she had to beg and beg and beg and call and call and call. And then once it was connected
Right.
to the Bachmeyer thing, that's when it really
Then they
started
gave
to
a
take
shit.
off.
Right. Yeah.
So, honestly, like if if Ren would have just been somebody who didn't have any family, who was like from another state, who, was like a transplant, he probably would have gotten away with it,
Yeah.
you know?
And he got LWOPed, right? Life without parole. Fuck yeah.
I love how you're like,
I remember shit. Come on, I pay attention. So,
mhm.
and
Yeah, he got L-whopped.
where's he doing his time?
I don't know. I hope
He
he's in
did it.
Walla Walla.
So he's there. He dies in jail, right?
He dies in jail. He's not getting out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sad. I know oftentimes we kind of highlight, and I've said it several times since we've been doing this, like, this is the kind of cop that you hope shows up at your house. This is the kind of cop that you want out there on the streets. Bachmeyer that's the guy you don't want anywhere near power or a badge or whatever. That kind of shit's dangerous. And I wish there was more policing of the police sometimes, And
Well, and here's the thing. If you look him up and you see a picture of him, he looks like Joe Blow, middle-aged dude.
yeah,
Like you wouldn't, and here's where our biases come into play. Like you wouldn't look at him as somebody who would, let me give you an example. When I worked at this athletic club when I was like 17 or whatever, there was this guy who would come and lift weights, and he was a police officer. And he was like totally roided out, just like completely. And when he worked out, it was so scary to like watch him. Like I didn't even want to watch him, but he was like always making tons of noise and like trying to get my attention. And it was like, I was thinking, this guy gives me really bad vibes. I bet you he really, I just got really bad vibes from him, just really bad vibes. I don't think that Bachmeyer would have been the type of person where he could probably schmooze and like, just get in the back of my car and I'll take you to get a statement. And like you wouldn't suspect it,
Yep.
Those are the most dangerous. It's like Gary Ridgway. He was like, they underestimated me.
Yep.
These young girls into his vehicle, and they just thought he was, he had his boys' toys in the front seat. And, he showed him his license because he totally planned on killing them. And so they thought, oh yeah, he's showing me his license. He's showing me his
He's
pictures
totally
of his
legit.
son.
He's just a scrawny little dude with a mullet. I'm sure it'll be fine, right?
Yeah, right. So I think Bachmeyer, was the same thing where you just wouldn't think that he was capable of this, and yet he was,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he's rotting in prison. I am. And I hope that Clark County changes that policy and that that the law's applied equally, regardless. I know.
Yeah.
Listen, I know cops have a tough job, and I get it, but there has to be a different way to protect them, kind of in that way. I don't know what the answer is. I'm sorry. I'm just complaining without offering any solution.
No, I think I asked him if the policy had changed, and he said that he didn't know, and I didn't follow up on it. But
one policy changed because of Bachmeyer.
Nice transition. Yes.
Retirement. You don't get your pension if you're a convicted fucking murderer. Okay. Like you had to wait for something to happen to go, oh, whoops. That's weird. So who gets it? So someone's getting paid, right?
Well, what was great about that, I mean, not great, but cup is half full. The attorney for Ren's family was like, hey, went after that money. So they get half of it, as well they should.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
My faith in humanity is restored. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, listen, great episode. I'm going to get in bed here. I got an early morning. But Nation, if you enjoyed that episode, please share it with anyone who you think might also enjoy it. And go over to Apple and rate and review. Any engagement helps the algorithm, as we say every week. We mean it. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for listening and for sharing the show. We're doing our best to grow the audience. So we appreciate all the support. Carolyn, anything you'd like to add?
Nope, perfectly said. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Stay safe out there.
From Pie in the Sky Media, Criminal Mischief is an EVO production, recorded live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're produced by Brandon Morgan and myself, music by Soundstripe. For EVO Creative, I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host.